Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial as reported by Inner City Press. What shocking connection between Sean Diddy Combs and Michael Jackson's final days. He has the FBI uncovered that has the entire music industry in turmoil in a federal courtroom where Diddy faces an expanding list of serious charges. A classified FBI file has been unsealed revealing alleged communications between Diddy and key figures in Michael Jackson's inner circle during the weeks before the pop icon's death in 2009. The documents, part of a years-long investigation, contain phone records, financial transactions, and witness statements suggesting Diddy's alleged involvement in events that may have contributed to Jackson's deteriorating condition. Most disturbing of all, testimonies indicating Diddy allegedly attempted to gain country all of Jackson's catalog while the king of pop was struggling with his health. As these documents were presented to the court, Kanye West made an unexpected appearance, confirming under oath that Jackson had confided in him about feeling threatened by certain industry figures during his final months. When prosecutors showed West previously unreleased tech messages between Jackson and Diddy, the courtroom fell into stunned silence. Why would the FBI keep this connection sealed for nearly 15 years? What leverage did Diddy allegedly have over Jackson's medical team? And how does this revelation change everything we thought we knew about one of music's greatest losses? This isn't just another celebrity scandal, it's potentially the missing piece, and understanding the tragic circumstances surrounding Michael Jackson's death and the powerful industry forces that may have contributed to it. The full story, raw and unfiltered, begins with the FBI's investigation and Kanye West corroborating testimony. And what's been revealed will forever change how we view the last chapter of Jackson's life. If you want to stay informed about this developing story, courthouse in downtown Los Angeles, where moments ago the Sean Diddy Combs trial took an unexpected turn that sent shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry. The atmosphere in the courtroom was electric as FBI Special Agent Marcus Daniels took the stand carrying a sealed file marked MJ Investigation Classified. Nobody expected the FBI to introduce evidence related to Michael Jackson. The room was tense. 2009 gasps echoed through the courtroom. Even the judge appeared momentarily stunned. No announcement, no pre-written statement, just Agent Daniels calmly explaining how their investigation into Diddy had unexpectedly intersected with Jackson's final days. Until that moment, the trial had focused primarily on Diddy's alleged involvement in trafficking and racketeering schemes. But something had shifted dramatically. Maybe it was the weight of the evidence being presented. Maybe it was the revelation that this investigation predated the current charges by over a decade. Maybe it was the knowledge that one of music's greatest icons might have been a victim of the same alleged predatory behavior. Whatever it was, the entire courtroom seemed to collectively hold its breath. Agent Daniels wasn't there to sensationalize, he was there as a federal investigator presenting evidence that had been carefully gathered and protected for years. And when he began detailing the timeline of communications between Diddy and Jackson's inner circle, the courtroom wasn't prepared for what they would hear, because what Agent Daniels revealed about the alleged minute relation, the financial pressures, and the broader implications for understanding Jackson's vulnerability in his final months wasn't just explosive, it was a troubling glimpse into the darker mechanisms of power and control within the music industry. At its highest levels, it started like any other day of the trial. The room buzzed with low conversations, the press hunched in their designated rows, and lawyers whispered strategies as they waited for the next witness. But when the bailiff announced the United States calls FBI Special Agent Marcus Daniels, the room changed. You could hear a pin drop. Some people thought it was a procedural witness, others expected standard financial evidence. But the way Agent Daniels carried that classified file, stamped with evidence security clearances, told everyone this was significant. The judge raised an eyebrow, and Diddy, who'd been reviewing documents with his legal team, suddenly looked up. His typically composed expression faltered as he saw the file being placed on the witness stand. Agent Daniels moved to the stand with the practiced deficiency of a career investigator. No eye contact with anyone. He didn't even glance at Diddy. I've been with the FBI's Financial Crimes Division for 17 years. Daniels began in 2009. I was assigned to a specialized task force investigating certain financial transactions surrounding Michael Jackson's estate planning and business affairs. The judge allowed it, and from that moment on the entire trial shifted, because what Agent Daniels was about to say wasn't part of any conspiracy theory or tabloid speculation. It was evidence that had been carefully guarded for years. Agent Daniels testified that in early 2009, the FBI began monitoring visual financial activities around Jackson's business holdings, with mounting debts and his comeback tours approaching. Jackson was under tremendous pressure to resolve his financial difficulties. We identified several concerning patterns. Daniels explained: individuals attempting to position themselves as financial advisors to Mr. Jackson, unusual loan offers with predatory terms and communications suggesting coordinated efforts to gain leverage over his catalog rights. The agent described how their investigation initially focused broadly on several music industry executives who appeared to be circling Jackson during his vulnerable state. Phone records, financial spurs and witness statements painted a picture of calculated efforts to exploit Jackson's situation. As we narrowed our investigation, Mr. Combs' name began appearing with increasing frequency. Daniels continued: phone records show he made 17 calls to Jackson's manager and the 2 weeks before Jackson's death. Financial records indicate a wire transfer of $2 million from a shell company we've now confirmed was controlled by Mr. Combs to the medical practice employing Dr. Conrad Murray. The courtroom felt completely silent as Agent Daniels methodically laid out the timeline: his deteriorating physical condition, and throughout at all the alleged shadow presence of Diddy, who appeared to be positioning himself to benefit from Jackson's distress. We have witness statements from 3 members of Jackson's security team. Daniels continued, each independently reporting that Jackson expressed specific fears about Mr. Combs in his final month. According to these statements, Jackson believed Mr. Combs was attempting to manipulate his business affairs through intermediaries. I've been investigating financial crimes for nearly 2 decades, Agent Daniel said, his voice now firmer. I've seen sophisticated fraud schemes, elaborate money laundering operations, and complex extortion attempts. But the coordinated effort to gain control of Michael Jackson's catalog while he was medically compromised represents one of the most troubling cases I've encountered. He turned slightly toward Diddy. The evidence suggests Mr. Combs was a central figure in this effort. Agent Daniels told the courtroom that it began with what appeared to be offers of support. It came through trusted intermediaries. The way they framed it, it was supposed to be financial assistance during Jackson's difficulties. Text messages recovered from Jackson's phone show communications referencing Mr. Combs' alleged offer to solve the catalog situation and make the debt problems go away. Daniels recounted what initially appeared to be a colleague offering help took a concerning turn, but the moment Daniels presented email communications between Diddy and Jackson's medical provider, the courtroom knew something was deeply wrong. The email exchanges indicate discussions about Jackson's medication protocols and sleep issues. Mr. Combs had no medical training or legitimate reason to be involved in these conversations. The second, Daniels mentioned that these communications occurred just 3 days before Jackson's death. The prosecutor requested a brief recess that should have been the first red flag. They said it was normal industry support, one artist helping another through difficult times. but it felt like something else, like calculated positioning to acquire valuable assets. Agent Daniels was direct in his assessment. His years of financial investigation experience was evident as he walked the jury through the complex web of companies and transactions. In April 2009, approximately 2 months before Jackson's death, Mr. Combs established 3 shell companies through offshore accounts. Daniels testified his voice now lower. These companies began purchasing Jackson's outstanding debt from various creditors, often paying premium prices to acquire specific obligations. Daniels paused organizing his documentation before continuing with what was clearly the most serious allegation. Financial records show that 1 week before Jackson's death, paperwork was being prepared that would have consolidated these debts and potentially forced Jackson to surrender partial rights to his catalog as collateral for a new loan structure. The terms were extraordinarily unfavorable to Jackson. The paperwork required Jackson's signature, but he died before it could be executed. According to Daniels, the FBI investigation found that during this same period, Diddy had established connections with key members of Jackson's inner circle. Phone records show regular communications between Mr. Combs and for individuals with daily access to Jackson, his manager, his primary physician, his lead attorney, and his head of security. These communications increased dramatically in frequency during Jackson's final week. Daniels testified that what troubled investigators most was the apparent coordination. These weren't random conversations. The timing and pattern of communications suggest a coordinated effort to monitor Jackson's physical and mental state while advancing financial arrangements that would benefit Mr. Combs. Significantly have completed. The prosecutor then asked Agent Daniels, in your professional opinion, what was the nature of Mr. Combs' interest in Michael Jackson during this period? Based on the evidence we gathered, Daniels replied, it appears Mr. Combs was positioning himself to gain control of valuable portions of Jackson's music catalog by leveraging Jackson's financial distress and deteriorating health condition. The communications suggest awareness of Jackson's declining state while simultaneously accelerating efforts to complete these financial arrangements. Agent Daniels said he followed evidence leading to a meeting at a private estate in Malibu in May 2009, thinking it was a routine gathering of news executives. Instead, what he discovered shook the investigation to its core. There were recordings apparently made without participants' knowledge, some captured conversations about Jackson's deteriorating vision. There were financial projections showing valuation models for Jackson's catalog under various scenarios, including one explicitly labeled post-mortem value increase. And he was allegedly directing the conversation, discussing how Jackson's stubbornness was becoming a timing problem. Daniels paused, referencing his notes. I didn't fully understand the significance of these discussions until we later obtained Jackson's medical records. The participants seemed to have detailed knowledge of his health that went beyond public information. Daniels continued his testimony, now building a disturbing pattern. Several witnesses from Jackson's household staff reported unusual visitors in his final weeks, not friends coming to offer support, but business associates arriving with documents. One staff member overheard a heated phone call where Jackson said, I know what you're doing, I won't sign anything, stop sending people to my house. Phone records confirmed this call was with a number associated with Diddy. We found evidence of what appears to be surveillance of Jackson. Daniels testified photographs of Jackson appearing disoriented, leaving medical appointments, records of his prescriptions, detailed notes about his sleep patterns and medication schedule. None of this information should have been accessible to Mr. Combs. Daniels explained that as the investigation deepened, they discovered something even more troubling: apparent communication between Diddy and Dr. Conrad Murray, the physician later convicted in Jackson's death. Financial records show a payment of $150,000 from one of Mr. Combs' shell companies to an account linked to Dr. Murray 3 days before Jackson's death. When questioned about this payment during our investigation, Murray claimed it was an investment in his practice. We found no documentation supporting this claim. The prosecution showed the court phone records revealing 8 calls between Diddy and Murray. In the 48 hours before Jackson's death, the final call occurred approximately 3 hours before Jackson received his last dose of propofol. I want to be extremely clear, Daniels emphasized. Our investigation found no evidence that Mr. Combs directly ordered or requested any medication be given to Jackson. However, the evidence suggests he had inappropriate knowledge of and potential influence over Jackson's medical treatment, while simultaneously pursuing financial arrangements that would benefit from Jackson's incapacitation. Daniels described how this pattern of behavior wasn't isolated. We identified similar approaches to 3 other high-profile artists between 2005 and 2012. In each case, Mr. Combs or his associates appear to target artists experiencing either financial difficulties, health issues, or legal problems. Method was consistent: offer help, gain influence over their business affairs, then restructure their obligations to his benefit. Agent Daniels said that it's when the investigation reached a critical juncture. We had compiled substantial evidence of concerning financial and business practices. We had documented the irregular communications with Jackson's medical providers. We were preparing to bring our findings to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Then suddenly, the investigation was classified and reassigned. Financial crime agents were told to focus on other cases. Documents were secured under unusual protocols. It was highly irregular. Daniels testified, in my 17 years with the Bureau, I had never seen a case handled this way, without clear national security. Key implications. When I asked for an explanation, I was told the matter involved sensitive cultural assets and required special handling. So for years, Daniels said, the investigation remained dormant, evidence collected, organized, but never acted upon. I continued monitoring developments informally. Window. Murray was prosecuted. I expected our evidence might become relevant, but the case against him focused narrowly on his medical negligence, not the broader circumstances or potential influences. He looked around the courtroom. Mr. Combs didn't just attempt to acquire valuable assets through questionable means. He inserted himself into the medical care of a honorable individual while pursuing financial arrangements that created significant conflicts of interest, and that, Daniels said, was what finally brought this evidence into the current case. Daniels paused, glanced at the jury, and leaned closer to the microphone. It wasn't just about business opportunities. This pattern of behavior suggested something more predatory. He said from that moment on, the investigation took on additional significance within the broader understanding of Diddy's alleged methods of leverage and control. He explained that as the current investigation into Diddy expanded connections to the earlier Jackson case became impossible to ignore, the methods were strikingly similar, identifying vulnerable individuals, establishing influence over their inner circle, creating financial dependence, and exploiting their weaknesses for personal gain. He said this didn't happen once or twice. It appeared to be a systematic approach. Mr. Combs didn't have to issue explicit threats. He created systems of influence and leverage. His network of contacts throughout the entertainment industry, his relationships with medical providers, his access to private financial information. He knew how to identify her abilities and how to position himself to exploit them. Daniels described how this control extended beyond the immediate target's associates who raised concerns would find themselves isolated. Medical providers who questioned certain decisions would lose high-profile clients. Attorneys who advised against proposed range of mints would be replaced. The prosecutor asked Daniels why the evidence was finally being presented now after nearly 15 years. To 2 factors, Daniels answered directly. First, the current investigation revealed patterns that precisely matched what we documented in 2009, suggesting an ongoing methodology rather than isolated incidents. Second, we recently located a witness who could directly connect these events someone who had conversations with both Jackson about his concerns regarding Mr. Combs and with Mr. Combs about his interest in Jackson's catalog. The courtroom fell silent as the prosecutor asked, "And who is that witness, Agent Daniels? Kanye West?" He replied, "The bailiff announced the United States calls a West," and the courtroom door opened. West entered wearing a simple black suit, his expression serious and focused as he took the stand. His eyes briefly met Diddy's before looking away. "Mr. West," the prosecutor began, "can you describe your relationship with Michael Jackson and the defendant Sean Combs?" West's voice was measured without his usual dramatic flair. "I knew Michael as a mentor and friend. We weren't close, but we had mutual respect. I've known Diddy since the early 2000s. We collaborated on music fashion ventures. I considered him a mentor too for a time." "Did Michael Jackson ever discuss Sean Combs with you?" "Yes," West replied. "In May 2009, about a month before he died, we were talking about the business side of music catalogs ownership. Michael became very serious. He told me to be careful about who I trusted with my business affairs." West testified that Jackson specifically mentioned Diddy. "Michael said, 'Good. He's been calling my team offering to help with my debt situation, but I don't trust it. He doesn't help anyone unless there's something in it for him." According to West, Jackson seemed paranoid at the time, but specific in his concerns. He said people were circling like sharks because they knew he was in a difficult position with the tour coming up. He specifically said, "Did he wants my catalog? He thinks I'm desperate enough to give it up." The prosecutor presented text messages between West and Jackson from that period. One from Jackson read, "They're pushing me too hard, trying to force me to sign while I'm down. Trust no one from that circle." West confirmed the authenticity of these messages. "At the time, I thought Michael was just stressed about the comeback tour. Now I understand what he meant by that circle." The prosecutor then shifted focus. "Mr. West, did you later have conversations with the defendant about Michael Jackson's catalog?" "Yes," was said, his voice no